Again, the primary job of the Watchmen is to warn of impending threats so that the threat can be engaged. And so coming next with the call to engage is Amy Willson. Truly one of the most courageous women I know. She is the state chapter director for Act for America, the organization that Brigitte Gabriel started. Amy also received from Brigitte in 2015 the Citizen Legislator Award of the Year for helping to pass through South Dakota a bill that would prohibit a barbaric procedure in Islam to be carried out here in South Dakota. She is an RN, and she gives her time at Caranet Crisis Pregnancy Center to save lives. God bless her. Amy is the administrator at our church, Bighorn Canyon Community Church, and I'm telling you this, that without her work, the amount of work she has done in preparation for tonight, what you're seeing here and what happened last night in Sioux Falls, this would not have happened. Would you please help me show our appreciation to Amy Willson?
I'm going to talk to you about Islam. It's something that the Lord's put on my heart, and I think it's time that the church engages on Islam. And I'm going to talk about two key issues that I have seen that keeps the church from engaging on the topic of Islam. The first one is immigration, and the second one is eschatology. I'll try to address them both tonight in about 10 minutes, so buckle up. Islam was a religion of peace in the beginning. For about 12 to 13 years, Muhammad preached peace. But after all that time of preaching, he only had about 150 converts. It wasn't really working for him. And so his message became a little bit more pressing on the issue of one God. And at the time, Mecca was pagan, and they worshipped 360 different gods based on the moon calendar. They worshipped one per day. And so when he became more pressing, they got tired of his message and they threw him out. And that throwing out is called the flight, or it's also known as the hijrah in Islam. And it is the single most important event in all of Islam. It's so important that it starts their calendar. And so where with us, as Christ divided our calendar, with Islam, the hijrah, the migration that Muhammad did from Mecca to Medina, is what starts their calendar. For you see, it was through migration that Islam was born and became a dominant force in the Middle East. Muhammad, upon migration, came upon 3 Jewish tribes in Medina. They all quarreled with one another, and he came to them and he shared with them his revelation. And they said, "That's great, but we don't recognize you as one of our prophets." And so he kind of brushed the dust off of him, and he went to the pagans in Medina. And he got many of the pagans to convert. And he came back to those 3 Jewish tribes and he said, "Listen, I can be a voice for these guys. Let me enter into politics." And so they allowed him into politics. And at that same time, his followers in Mecca became rowdy, and they also got kicked out. And they find Muhammad in Medina, and he's a political leader. And so now he's got the pagans, and he's got his boys back, and he's got numbers. And he's got strength being a politician. And so he starts getting these revelations to raid the caravans. And then he finds out that he's brilliant militarily. And as he's doing this, he gets more of the bounty, and he spreads that. And so his followers are getting rich off of what he's doing, and Islam explodes. And so that sets the precedence of Islam, of immigrating first, infiltrating politics, and then elimination. Why is that important to us to know in present day? Because over 90 verses in the Quran speak about emulating Muhammad. And Muhammad conquered first because he migrated. He set the example in the command to migrate to spread Islam. Muslims who know their Quran and they know their Hadith are literal slaves and are expected to do the same to conquer the world for Islam, so a caliphate can be declared and a caliph can rule. Many Muslims wish not to migrate, but they do so because they want to please Allah and they want to follow Muhammad. Now, I do want to make a little clarity. Not all Muslims know their Quran and know their Hadiths. So not all Muslims follow this. But those who do, this is Islam is radical. So how does the church currently fit into this structure? Currently, the immigrants that are chosen from the U.S. come from what's called the UNHCR. It's the High Commissioner of Refugees. And you have to remember, the UN itself is made up of the OIC. It's the biggest voting bloc, and it's made up of the largest Islamic organizations in the world. It has 56 countries plus the Palestinian authorities, and they vote together as one. And that's why Israel is always condemned with the most human rights violations. It's because they vote together. Now, these Islamic countries are full aware of what the Hijra is and how important it is into bringing a global caliphate. Saudi Arabia, who is a major player inside the OIC, they don't take a single refugee, but they impose with their votes in the other countries for the U.S. to take the lion's share of it. And the reason why is they understand through migration comes domination. So this is how it works. In short, the Department of Homeland Security screens the refugees, the Department of Health and Human Services fund the state departments and the contracts that are made, and then the State Department admits the refugees and places the refugees in these organizations called VOLEGs. They're voluntary organizations, except for they get paid a lot of money to be voluntary. This is over $1 billion industry in the US, and taxpayer funded, may I say. And these 9 so-called voluntary agencies, 6 of them are faith-based. And the real kicker to this is that these faith-based organizations, they sign a contract with the UN that they will not proselytize their faith. So they cannot share the gospel with these Muslims that come in. So the church in America is not only profiting off of these immigrants, but they are working to spread the Great Commission of Islam over the Great Commission of the gospel. I want to put it just another way, just put it in perspective. Many churches of several denominations are literally profiting while loving Muslims to hell and have turned a blind eye to the persecuted Christians because the Christians are literally not welcomed into these UNHCR camps because they're Muslim ran and they're from the UN. And they know this. You don't see these churches fighting for those Christians to be brought over. Church believers have every right to speak out against our immigration policy as it stands. We are responsible for helping those who are in need, like the Christians and the Yazidis in the Middle East, but we are also responsible for bringing the gospel of truth to the Muslim world that live under incomprehensible oppression. But as our immigration policy currently stands, we are doing exactly the opposite for both. As money from the Islamic countries flow into our government, our media outlets, our universities, and our churches, we are daily losing who we are and what we stand for, and the result of that is propaganda videos like these videos here, called Discover Islam, that are put out by churches and Islamic organizations, and they're nothing more than pure lies to confuse and to divide us. And the end result is this. Churches are watering down their faith to accommodate and teach from the pulpit that Islam and Christianity worship the same God and all religions are equal. All people are created equal because we're created in God's image. And all people should be treated equal because of that. But all religions are not equal. And Islam will kill you if you leave the faith, and that is not compatible with our Christian Judeo values, and it's time that we say so.
Yeah. Good.
Islam is soon poised to be the dominant religion in Europe because the church became weak and created a vacuum. And why would we expect a different outcome if we don't do anything differently? I want to just quickly go over some doctrine to compare the two that are central. In Islam, there's what they call shirk. And shirk is the biggest blasphemy, and it's worse than murder, and it's when you say that Allah has partnerships, you're committing shirk. So everybody who names Jesus Christ as the Son of God commits shirk. And it is unforgivable in Islam. But we've been warned in the Bible, the spirit of Antichrist, 1 John 2:22, is the one who denies Jesus Christ as the Son of God. And so we've got two polar opposites that we need to recognize. They're not compatible with another. I also want to mention this. Do you understand that Allah can lie? Page 168 of Tafsir ibn Kathir, and I've got that in back, states, however, Allah deceived these people, talking when Jesus was crucified, and they plotted and Allah planned too, and Allah is the best of those who plot. He's the best deceiver. Can God lie? No. Then who is Allah? So do you understand the ideology that we are bringing under the banner of peace and tolerance and teaching our kids that they should be tolerant as well? But this isn't the only battle that when it comes to the church engaging with the subject of Islam. Many theologians embrace the idea that Islam will one day be wiped out before Christ comes back to make room for a European Antichrist, while ignoring the Antichrist doctrines that are central in Islam. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail about that. I did include a video for people to have, for pastors to have a little room for thought in looking at Islam, but I want you to understand, if you just think that God's going to wipe out a people group, you're not going to engage them. We need to engage them. I also want to say this. I have studied eschatology under Islam, watching their sites, their videos and stuff like that. And I will say what you can see is how Satan hates God's creation and how he has set them up to follow a lie all the way to the very end. And that really should concern us. The church in a whole needs to become well-versed in Islam to prepare to engage Muslims with the gospel. You can't just say, well, we believe in Jesus, and they'll say, we believe in Jesus. Their Jesus is not the same Jesus as our Jesus is. We also need to articulate that the war is not with Muslims, but against the doctrines of Islam. Ephesians 6:12 says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. It's not against a people group. We stand in against absolute darkness that keeps Muslims from knowing the truth. And the only way we can dispel the darkness is with the light of the truth, and if we engage with the power of the gospel and we stand firm on the word of God, what do we have to fear? I want to leave you with this. Muslims are willing to die for a lie. Are you willing to die or live for the truth? And if so, will you engage them with this truth? We need to engage in this topic, and we don't need to shrink back on it. We have the truth on our side.